Sorry.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another. It's your boy.
Oh god,
Hey, keep going. That's great.
I was liking it, man.
Sorry, I'm
Alright.
trying to figure out this. Oh,
Oh God, gotta send another link.
geez.
What are our podcast names? We need to have like cool YouTuber podcast names, you know?
Mine is Seamus.
Handicap Hercules.
Still applicable after all these years.
Yeah. I feel like every couple of years it's gonna come back. You know, I don't want to jinx that.
I hope not.
Well, it keeps happening, so
You put that evil on it, man.
It's built like a pussy. So.
All right, let's do this thing. Welcome back, everybody. Excited stuff.
Yeah.
Good album.
Yeah.
which album was it?
Into the Outdoor by Led
Yeah.
Zeppelin.
The one we talk about every week.
I love the Beatles.
This is not Beatles. I don't know why you said that.
Into the Outdoor by Led Zeppelin by the Beatles. You never heard of it?
Yes.
No, everyone gets the point. In Through the Outdoor, Led Zeppelin, 1979. Like I said, quick thing in the beginning. To start off, again, just quickly wanted to acknowledge a review someone left on the show. Good reminder to let everyone know, to let us know how we're doing. And love hearing from everybody, so should be pretty quick. Just wanted to read this out loud down here. From Gabe Aguilar. Definitely don't know who that is.
Why would you say that?
Yeah.
Just, I wanted to be perfectly clear.
This is not a paid actor.
Not sure why I feel the
I
need to
definitely
disclose
didn't
that.
pay Gabe Aguilar $20 to be this.
I think the best
Yeah.
way to know that is I think you're pronouncing it wrong, but
No, I think it's correct. Anyway,
Not that he would know, because he doesn't know.
yeah. To be perfectly clear, it's I don't know him. I didn't pay him. Just don't look.
Can't emphasize that enough.
Yeah. So anyway, 5 out of 5 stars. Let the record reflect 5 stars. Let's see here. Do I need to zoom in a bit more?
yeah,
Records
you're
arrive
gonna
safely.
You're good now. You're good now.
Okay. Records arrived safely and really well packaged. Descriptions were accurate and to the condition of the records. Also, dig the show. Fun content, fun listen. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Right.
Thank you, Gabe, for the kind words.
Thanks, Gabe.
Whoever you are.
Oh, man.
Yeah, if we ever meet.
Sounds like a great guy. All right. Sorry. With that out of the way, shall we?
Yes.
Okay.
Who wants to start?
Shame.
I'm super curious about it's interesting that we are starting like
At the end.
that our first Led Zeppelin album, is Into the Outdoor. Is it their last?
Oh,
studio
Coda
album?
came after.
Coda.
What is Coda? Because I'm familiar with it.
It's an album.
It had like a bunch of songs they recorded during this session, and like some other songs that were already recorded, because John Bonham died in like 1980, like right after this.
Yeah.
So it was posthumously released.
Yeah, the band had
and it was-
broken up. Pretty much.
Okay, and it was so it's not a compilation of unreleased things, but it is kind of like 2 projects that were just kind of tidied up and pushed out
Leftovers.
as
I
the band's
guess.
last work. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Interesting. But other than that, it is their last studio album while the band was still together.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting that we're starting at the end of their discography. I mean, again, like honestly, like we could have started week 1 with Zeppelin. We're all big fans. They're legends. I like the way we've done it. Now we finally get to Zeppelin after talking about them every week. And we're probably
Every time.
Always comes up.
and we're probably going to keep talking about them every week.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I don't know if I listen to them quite as much as I used to, but yeah, I mean, still love the band. And I'm curious Like, so we talked about this album. We've kind of memed this album almost at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I like it a lot. Probably the biggest proponent of it that I know. I think I've said that on this podcast before. So unless you guys have anything to say, I can just kind of get into it.
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it.
Anybody have some background? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I meant to read the Wikipedia for this. That's another thing I probably said.
Your background
Podcast.
Wikipedia.
Yeah. Did any of you guys skim through it?
This is the first one I didn't. I just completely forgot.
Yeah, I don't know a ton about it. I know a little bit about it. I'm pretty sure it was primarily like Robert Plant and John Paul.
Right.
Because the other two were
heavily addicted to drugs.
Heavily addicted to heroin and alcohol.
Yeah.
John Bonham died like a little
John
bit
Bonham
after this.
was like a foot out the door, pretty much. It was pretty shortly after this was released, like
Yeah.
early 1980, I think.
And
was that like an homage to the album title that you just did right there?
Yeah, I mean, there you go, man. There you go.
And the album title comes from, they had some like tax like scandal in the UK.
Yeah, they were exiles.
Yeah, so they couldn't tour and they couldn't come back, and they described it as trying to go like back to the UK as going in through the outdoor, because they were like fighting that process, that exile, like during the production of this album.
Yeah.
But they also got a brand new synth. I forget who it was. It was either I think it was John Paul Jones who got a new synth and was like, "This is awesome."
Yeah,
And
he
that's why I hear
liked
it.
to use that synth for this record. He really used it.
Dude, another synth heavy record. Let's do it.
I'm loving it. Loving it.
It was recorded in Stockholm, which was pretty cool. Fun fact: I was in Stockholm yesterday, and it's a very pretty place.
Did you see Led Zeppelin there?
I saw him live. It was awesome.
The man himself, Led Zeppelin, was there.
Yeah, Led himself was in the airport.
Wow. Did you take a Zeppelin back to the US? That's pretty
Yeah, it took forever.
They still fly those?
It took so long.
There's like 8 of them left in the entire world. Did you guys know that?
Yeah.
I've seen one that flies
I've seen the
around
Goodyear
here.
one a few times. Yeah, it's always weird seeing it. Like, wow, that's one of the 8 in the world. Seeing the Goodyear one.
Is a Zeppelin like a blimp, basically?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
That's a word, dude. I haven't said the word blimp in a long time. That's like
I talk about blimps all the time.
I'm an avid blimper, dude.
I think about blimps every day. What the hell, man?
I'm a collector, actually.
Ever heard of the 8 wonders of the world? They're all blimps.
And they're all on display on my show.
Yep.
Well, it's funny actually because our band is becoming a Led Zeppelin cover band, and we're just gonna name it Metal Blimp.
Nice. Never thought.
That's sick.
Nige, what else you got? You seem like you have some insight on the album.
I think that's about it. Just the name, the synthy background. You know, I'm a big synth guy, so anything that has to do with synths, I'm probably gonna know about. But that's about all I got.
Yeah. I mean, one thing is like I'm just skimming over it right now, but I think this is kind of well known, but this is one of the more like divisive Zeppelin albums when it comes to their entire discography. Like, there's a lot of different sound in this album.
Yeah, definitely.
It's maybe like save for like Fool in the Rain and In the Evening. Everything else is it's pretty different from a lot of their other stuff, and it's definitely pretty divisive. So I think it's an interesting album to start with too, just because of that fact.
Yeah, I think
divisive meaning like controversial. Sorry.
Yeah, like critics and fans kind of like had different opinions on this. Like a lot of people loved it.
Good. Yeah.
And
okay.
Inky, can you zoom in a little bit more? It's still pretty tiny.
Need those glasses, Nigel.
Yeah, he thinks he's still doing that eye test.
Yeah.
No, I was just clarifying because you said divisive, but then you were talking about how diverse the album is too. So I wasn't sure if I heard that right.
Yeah, that's a good point. That too. That's probably feeds into it.
Because there is a lot of range on the album.
A lot of rain too. A lot of fools
Oh,
dancing
lot
in
of
the rain.
fools.
Nice one.
All right, who's
Anyways,
gonna take the
Next
lead?
year,
Who wants to go?
Yeah, Seamus, let's hear it.
Gizmotron.
Oh yeah.
That's sick.
That's fake. That's
Dude,
not real.
Yeah.
Next time someone asks me what instrument I play, I'm just gonna tell them I play the gizmo.
I'm gonna look up what that is right now.
But that's a cool place to start, right? So one of the cool things about Wikipedia is that it always lists like the album credits and the personnel. And as far as instrumentation goes, I'm trying to think about the albums we've listened to. I know, right, like the Hall and Oates one, when we looked at the personnel, it was a
Paul
long
McCartney.
list. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The producer
Yeah.
for that album, like he brings in like a lot of session people, particularly
Like
Right.
session bands.
Yeah.
Arif Martin, I think is his name.
Like Hugh and his brother Phil. And
Yeah.
but it's so my point is, you look at this album, I don't know if we've had one like this yet. I think Van Halen may have actually been like it. I wouldn't be surprised if there were others. Chicago's the other one I'm thinking of, where it's a very long list of musicians on the album. Dude, it's Led Zeppelin and it's these four guys. And it's just really cool. It's the classic rock band setup, like Robert Plant's just singing. You got a guitarist, just one guitarist. And a bass.
You only have one Gizmotronist too, which is crazy.
Insane.
Classic rock.
Jimmy Page really pulling out all the stops.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, if I know you guys have probably played Guitar Hero, but there's a lesser known Gizmotron hero that didn't sell as well. But
Unfortunate.
So just like, I don't know if I said it with Van Halen and credited them with this, but there's a couple bands, Rush also come to mind, like 3 or 4 musicians, and it sounds more full than some other bands. Like just the heaviness tone of the guitar.
Sorry, I won't bring that
This
up.
guy's just drinking haterade this morning. But so that's the first point, right? That's a good point to start. All 4 of those huge in the band, all great at what they do. Jimmy Page, just a sick guitarist. John Bonham, I mean, Nige, I think you should lead the John Bonham talk, but not that I'm qualified to speak about drumming that much, not technically, but I know he's a beast. He's one of my favorite drummers. Another cool thing about the Wikipedia is looking at the deluxe edition. Oh God.
Yeah, I knew that was gonna come up.
Carasalambra.
That's how
I used to only say Carasambra, but I guess it's
just not right.
Is that like a teacher or something?
Carol and Mr. Manga.
That's an ice cream flavor, right?
Yeah, now we're talking.
I'm cool to just call it the Epic, but that I was gonna make that my next point. Just looking at like the original titles for this stuff, that's kind of an appropriate name. It's probably Led Zeppelin's longest song at almost 11 minutes.
Feels pretty long.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
Yeah,
so they have a lot of long, famous songs, but yeah, I think this is probably their longest.
You know what might be longer? Achilles' Last Stand is pretty fucking long, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that's longer though.
Let me check.
Let's get a fact check. That might be like 10 minutes too.
I don't think it's
10. Might be 11.
It's 10:31. It's 10:31.
Yeah, shorter.
Is Carasalambra
longer than the
song?
Studio version, though?
The what?
Interesting. Oh,
yeah,
dude.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh,
wow,
wait,
so
10:30. Okay, 10:34.
Yeah, it's actually longer than the studio.
Oh wow, you're right.
I wonder where that extra 20 seconds comes from. If it's like part of that middle break.
It's probably tempo.
I bet it's unnecessary.
I bet it's not more song. I bet it's just because I don't think they played with a click track. Because if you listen to a lot of their music, like the tempo drifts. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're just playing and that the song ended an extra 20 seconds early. You know?
By the way, their longest song, I believe, is actually "In My Time of Dying," which comes in at 11:08 off Physical Graffiti.
Gotcha. I thought there was an 11 in there. I'm not as familiar. Is that Physical Graffiti?
Yeah.
Cool. Great album, but it's been a while since I've done a cover to cover on that. Probably just because it's
Same.
so long.
Yeah.
Long one.
That would be an interesting one to talk about because that's a long one. Led Zeppelin, obviously amazing. I feel like I've definitely tuned out at points when listening to that album.
Yeah, like Kashmir, I
just
definitely like.
Yeah.
I heard it
Yeah.
too much, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
not a huge fan of that either. So that's all good points there. Diving into the songs on Into the Outdoor. Like I said, obviously I'm a huge proponent of it. I did the thing. I was listening to it on Spotify. I should have got the record out because I have it on vinyl. I think I have probably half of their stuff on vinyl.
Big
So
show
because
off.
I was, yeah, subtle flex. But because I was listening to it on Spotify, I wasn't sure where the cutoff was for sides, and I was kind of hoping that Hot Dog was on the first side, only because I don't hate the song, but because if the first side was just In the Evening, Southbound Suarez, and Fool in the Rain, dude, I think I'd have to sit down and look at their albums, but I think I would say that would be like clear my favorite side of a Led Zeppelin album.
Wow.
And I think, and again, I'd have to sit down and look, and you can make a case for a lot of them. I think a lot of us like Houses of the Holy. I've said before that if that song was on that album, that would probably be my favorite album because I love House of the Holy, the song. Kind of weird how that happened and how that wasn't on that album. So I was listening to this, and I will say side 2 is different. I don't dislike any of it. I don't think I dislike anything by Led Zeppelin. Kashmir might actually be one of my least favorite songs by them.
Really?
Still an iconic song, but
I think Immigrant Song is my least favorite.
Oh
dude,
my god,
dude!
classic,
I think, Jack. I think I agree with you.
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Inky,
Or Black Dog.
just cut their mics. Cut their mics. You don't need this trash.
He kicks
my
us out. It's like,
goodness.
it's weird. So, we just technical difficulties. Just lost
Just me and
James and
Nigel now,
Jack.
yeah.
Crazy.
Talk about Immigrant Song.
Crazy.
Dude, I feel like I'm
Immigrant
watching
Song is
Shrek when I
so
listen
good.
to it. I feel like I'm watching Shrek when I listen to Immigrant Song. Because
Immigrant
it's
Song
Is
amazing.
it in Shrek?
I'm listening to.
Yeah.
I'm watching School of Rock when I hear that song. You know.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a much better
That's
message.
a little
much
better.
better.
It's a little better.
If I associate it that way, I'd probably like the song. But I guess I saw
Dude, the
Shrek before I saw
drums.
School of Rock.
Yeah.
I mean, do we need to turn this?
Good.
Do we need to turn this into a movie podcast? Because
We can get into this.
Shrek's
We can get into this.
Shrek's a
start-
solid film.
I love Shrek, but I don't.
I mean, we
think
could
of Shrek
review
when I listen to
soundtracks.
Zeppelin.
You could
Yeah,
review
you
a
don't think of
soundtrack.
it.
Some School of Rock clips. It was either yesterday or the day before. I was watching a bunch of them. Just such a good movie.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
So
I love
good,
it.
dude.
Such a good
Nigel,
movie.
I would be down to do some soundtracks. There's some great soundtracks out
Yeah.
there.
Ooh, the big
Like
Chill.
original soundtracks, or
Yeah. Oh well, in general, I mean,
I do,
let's see,
yeah.
like Django has an amazing soundtrack.
Yeah. I would say
What's-
the Hateful Eight, but it's an amazing soundtrack. Probably not the
Yeah.
the vibe to
Oxtail.
review, but
Oh, I think "Oh Brother Art Thou" is probably one of the best
Ooh.
soundtracks ever.
oh yeah, absolutely.
That's a good.
I got
one
that
right
on
there.
vinyl and I love it.
I know
Uh,
enough
Soggy
about
Bottom
that movie.
Boys.
Soggy Bottom Boys.
If we did that, I feel like we'd have to pick a movie that we at least all. If we haven't seen it, we at least know context. That's an interesting idea, though.
Yeah.
But
If you haven't seen "Oh Brother Art Thou," go watch it.
That's a
It's
good one.
it's like the Odyssey, and it's so good. Like one of the best movies, in my opinion.
is it actually about the Odyssey, or you're saying it's just a similar kind of?
It's an
epic?
adaptation.
It's
Yeah.
adaptation.
I never knew that they were. I've seen parts of it.
Okay.
Obviously, not the
Alright.
biggest guy, as you guys know.
Yeah.
I've been criticized for that in the
We're
past.
getting- we're getting a little-
I never watch movies, but I've seen.
This has been thoroughly derailed.
Yeah, the one time we actually do the episode on Zeppelin.
Already
Talk
got
everything
about
else.
Oh Brother Where Art Thou.
All right,
The one
guys.
time we dedicate time to talk about it, we end up talking about everything else.
Oh, jeez.
All right, Shane. So you really love this album.
Fuck yeah. Bringing it back in here. So I think what I was kind of getting at, though, is that I'm a big proponent of it, and I love that side one. I don't know if there's any Led Zeppelin I don't like. I like Cara Salambra.
Yeah.
I like All My Love too. They're just different kind of vibes. Cara
Oh my
Salambra
goodness.
reminds me of a song called "The Camera Eye" by Rush, which is the first
Oh,
song on the
man.
B side of Moving Pictures.
Wow.
Wow.
that
Like,
was
what the hell?
impressive.
That is sweet.
That's better than your Family Guy knowledge, dude.
Yeah.
That says something. But
That's like Carl in Family Guy when he's like, he's like saying, yeah, an hour 30 in, you stop listening, whatever movie. So funny.
Yeah. But again, like first song, B-side, long epic song, which both of these bands, comparing them to Rush, do. So it's a cool song there. There's like very different segments of the song. But I think I guess what I'm trying to say is that the reason I like this one so much, I don't know if I'd even really say it's my favorite Zeppelin album. It might be. I don't know if I would say it is. I think the reason I'm so fond of it and stick up for it so much is the first two songs, In the Evening and Southbound Suarez. I think like In the Evening is kind of badass the way it starts.
Yeah.
So
I
good.
think
It's
it
a good
goes
opener.
pretty hard. Yeah, and Southbound Suarez is kind of a jam. And obviously we all know Fool in the Rain is awesome. It's a radio song. They have a ton of radio songs. It's a radio song. I don't get sick of it. It reminds me of Van Halen, right? We talked like a bunch of songs on the radio, and I still am not sick of them, except for Kashmir. But yeah, I just don't think those first two songs get enough credit, and that's why I pump this album's tires so much. So I would say Southbound Suarez is my most underrated song on this because it's the one I like the most that gets the least credit.
Cool.
Yeah.
Fool in the Rain is probably my favorite song, but
Yeah.
Is it because you
I had
can't
to-
understand the lyrics? I mean, Southbound Suarez, I can barely hear what Robert Plant's saying, like the whole song.
He was the original mumble rapper, actually.
Yeah, original. Yeah, I love that.
I had to. My opinion on Southbound Suarez changed after listening a few times this week. At first, I thought it was kind of like the weak point of this album, but I gave it a few more listens, and
over Hot Dog.
yeah. I just don't really love the intro of Southbound Suarez, like the first few seconds of the keys. It kind of is just like a little, I don't know. I wouldn't say annoying, but I just like, I hear it and I skip it usually.
Hokey.
But yeah, exactly. That's a good way to describe it. However, listening a few more times, it's a pretty fun song. There's a lot of good, like Jimmy Page kind of rocks that song, like he does with all these songs.
Yeah. I like the guitar solo in it a lot. I think that's why I have such an affinity for the song.
Mm-hmm.
But fair point. I don't really have much else to say, but I'll popcorn it to you, Jack, because you said Southbound Suarez used to be in your eyes the weak point of the album. What do you think of Hot Dog then?
Yeah.
The best song they've ever made.
Yeah, should have been the opener.
Lined that up so well.
Yeah, that's a great transition. So, I think that kind of leads me into my entire opinion of this album, where, and kind of a hot take, this album does not hold up as well as it used to for me. It's not as good as I remember it. I haven't listened to it in a little bit. And I listened to it twice today, once yesterday. It's really great, but like, I mean, yeah, Hot Dog, man, that song is just, it's annoying. Like, I don't know. It's like, it's a swing song, and it just doesn't really fit with the rest of it, especially after coming off Fool in the Rain.
Yeah.
Like, I think
Oh my
Fool in the
gosh.
Rain is probably like top 3 greatest songs of all time, in my opinion. Top 5, I'd say, of all songs. Fool in the Rain, just like, I listened to this on a run this morning, and I looked at my pace after, and my pace increased or decreased by like an entire minute when Fool in the Rain happened, because it's just so awesome. I think the MVP of the album is the whistle blow and Fool in the Rain.
Yeah.
When it's like,
Because
it's like you hear the song at a party and the whistle blows and everyone gets up and it's like, hey, everyone start dancing. It's like a whistle to the crowd. Like, get up and groove to this song, because it's so cool. And it's just like, it's such an inflection point in the song, and it goes into, I think, like, in my opinion, like one of the culminations of like Zeppelin's entire discography is the drop in Fool in the Rain. It's just such an awesome song, and I will never get sick of it. I love it so much.
John Bonham nails the drums of
oh,
that song, man.
oh my-
Shuffle,
So
John-
good.
it's iconic.
Yeah, it's you know, I'm not a musician. I'm a listener, and like I don't always appreciate drums as much as, you know, say like someone who's like trained to listen to things. But the drums in that song, just, I mean, John Bonham just kills it.
Yeah,
Like,
he's
it's
integral to
so-
their sound.
He really is. And yeah, I mean, what a song, "Tour in the Rain." Just, that is just such a highlight of Zeppelin's career. Same with "In the Evening," rocking, witty. Just like when they bring it back up at the end with like that really distorted guitar, so cool. And then also,
Feels like a classic Led Zeppelin song.
it does. It really does. And I think that's like a theme of this album is it's like "Fool in the Rain" and "In the Evening" are very classic Zeppelin songs. The rest is like, I mean, you know, they're going on to the verge of the 80s, and the synthesizers come in, and it's a lot of use here, a lot of heavy use. And for better or worse, I think at certain points of the album. So I think like listening to again a few times, and a song that I didn't give enough credit to in the past was Carousel Alhambra. Like, that is such an epic song. The John Bonham using that, he's using like a double necked guitar on this entire album, and it sounds unbelievable.
Jimmy Page?
Carousel Alhambra.
Jimmy Page.
Yeah, that's sorry, that's what I meant.
That's
And-
cool. I
Just
didn't know
hitting it
that.
with the drumstick, like, yeah, guitar mix.
This drum sucks. Yeah, dude, it's a double neck, and it sounds unbelievable. I think just like that distorted riffing he does in that song is just like so like rock and roll awesome. It's like, I don't know, just such a great sound. And that album, or that song, just goes back and forth between like the synth and the guitar, and it's just such a cool song. And I didn't give enough credit. Like, I don't know, I've listened to Zeppelin for like, I don't know, my whole life, as long as I can remember, and I never really listened to that song that much. I'm going to be listening to it a lot more after listening, you know, these past couple times. "All My Love" it's fine. It's a good song. Like, objectively, I think it's a really pretty nice song. But like, I don't really like listening. Like, if it comes on, I skip
Wow.
it.
Can you imagine someone came up to you and say, "I think you're a pretty nice person"?
You're
That's
fine.
like the most backhanded insult. Like, I can
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I feel about the song.
Oh man.
And then "I'm Gonna Crawl" it's also like, it's good. But I think this kind of like just is like plays to what I said at the beginning, that like this album in its entirety does not hold up as well as I remember it. However, the highlights of this album is why I remembered it so well, so fondly. Like, you know, "In the Evening," "Fool in the Rain," and Carousel Alhambra are just like so good.
Yeah.
Like, they're just such incredible songs. Some of Zeppelin's best.
You see that album cover and you just associate it with those amazing songs.
I think "Fool in the Rain," that's what I think of. And then I think, oh sweet, also "In the Evening," like, oh man, like it's like Dan said, it's such an epic intro, "In the Evening." Yeah, it's a great album. I don't think it's my favorite Zeppelin. I don't know what my favorite Zeppelin album is, but I don't think it's my favorite. And FYI, we are at 10 minutes. If we want to, I mean, 10 minutes is a lot of time. Maybe we cut in 5 minutes. And then we switch to
works.
someone else. So
Just
someone else can go.
Good popcorn and end it.
Yeah, I'll popcorn to Inky.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to go pretty quick, and then we can move on to Nigel with the new link. But I was actually going to guess I was the most bearish on the album. I think a lot of my thoughts kind of mirror what Jack had said, and you know, we covered it sounds pretty different to everything else, with JPJ kind of driving a lot of the sound. And although it is interesting and he deserves the MVP, I think, yeah, it doesn't quite do it for me. But yeah, obviously, yeah, "Fool in the Rain" also top 3, top 5 Zeppelin song. I did want to circle back to what Seamus said about favorite side. I don't think it's a side, but the back half of Physical Graffiti, the run of 10 Years Gone, Down by the Seaside, Night Flight, that's an easy winner for me.
Very good. Yeah, very good pick.
Yeah. See. Oh, I think the only other thing I had "In the Evening," I just think about being like a 15-year-old in the 80s or whatever, and you get this album,
Yeah.
drop the needle, and it just explodes, and you're like, nice. They still
Nice.
They still got it.
That is a great point. That it's just so different. I mean, obviously, like when we talk about like dropping Led Zeppelin 1 on the record, which at that time it's definitely possible you didn't hear of them yet. By now, obviously, you've heard of them, but it is still cool just to think like if you haven't gotten to hear, if you didn't hear any of the radio singles or anything like that, then when you put the album on, it's your first time listening to it. And obviously with Spotify, you can choose to listen however you want, which is dope, right? You could shuffle an artist. You could hit like look at their 5 most popular songs. You didn't hear them yet. It's just what you hear when you drop the needle, and that's sick. So it's definitely something to be said about a good opener. And whatever you think of the album, I'm glad to hear that you at least think In the Evening is like a strong opener.
Yeah, unbelievably strong. But yeah, overall, without Fool in the Rain, I'm probably not the most happy customer. We'll get to that when we review it. But yeah, I mean, it's Zeppelin, so it's a great album.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll be right back.
Yeah.
So basically, real quick though, so basically what you're saying is that it's like a pizza that really isn't that great, but it's still pizza. So it's not bad.
I love that analogy. I think I've heard you say that before, and it's pretty good for Zeppelin. And I think you've said the same thing with Presence, right? Which I'm like Nigel level hater with that one.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You are what? Did you say you're a hater of Presence?
Yeah, like Nigel level of Chicago. Don't like it.
Really?
I love the
Achilles Last Stand.
No song on it tickles your fancy.
Maybe I haven't listened to it enough.
Let's go listen to Achilles Last Stand after this. And nobody's
I've listened to that one. It's
and Royal Orleans.
It's the first side.
Walmart. Since I've been loving you.
Yeah.
So hard pass for me.
All right. Well, we'll be right back. I always have the album like playing like through my headphones while we do this, just to stay fresh, just to get reminded of things. And I'm like 2/3 of the way through Carlos Alhambra right now, and I gotta say, like I do not like the beginning of that song, but the rest of the song, maybe about 4 minutes on, is like pretty great stuff, going back and forth between the synth and the guitar, very playful. But all right, let's get into it. Let's start at the top. In the Evening, amazing song. Like it, and you guys kind of described it as like typical Zeppelin, but I don't know. To me, it was like I don't know any songs that sound like that. Like the way it comes in. I mean, and Zeppelin has a lot of unique sounding stuff, but that song is definitely special. That song's fucking awesome. Southbound Suarez, not the biggest fan. Seamus, I don't know why you like it so much. It's it's got like a decent groove, but like it's not even
guitar
close.
solo.
Okay, that's fair. I think the Fool in the Rain guitar solo is much better. But
I mean, I would say so.
It's all right. It's a pretty good song. I think it's better than Hot Dog by far.
I agree on that, I think.
Thanks for that concession. Yeah.
Okay, Fool in the Rain. Let's get right into it. Fool in the Rain is one of the greatest songs of all time. I have to agree with Jack. Like for a long time, it was my favorite Zeppelin song. I don't know if it still is. It's definitely top 3. And I'm not going to reveal what the others are, but but it's so good, and the drums. So let's get into the drums a little bit.
I could see you being like a When the Levee Breaks kind of guy.
Oh, When the Levee Breaks is so fucking good too.
Awesome.
Is it one of the top? Is it one of your top 3?
You know what? We'll have to review that album, won't we?
Dude, tell us, please.
No spoilers, man. But
this is good content. Gotta save this.
Fool in the Rain. The guitar solo is awesome. So this is my like view of Fool in the Rain. They were like, okay, let's make a song, and they started off, and John Bonham's like, okay, I'm just gonna make this crazy drum groove that you can't help but but like dance to, right? You can't help but move to because he's playing like a halftime shuffle, so he's playing eighth note triplets with his right hand. This is my right hand on the hi-hat. He's playing quarter notes with his left foot on the hi-hat. He's playing triplets on the kick, and he's playing the snare on we don't need to get into all the technical stuff, but he's playing the snare loud and soft, and then he switches up to the ride and he's playing 12th notes on the ride while playing quarter notes with his foot and triplets with the kick. He's just doing
unreal.
It's just awesome. And you can't help but just like, oh, this is, you know what I mean? Like, it's just so good. And then they're like, oh man, what does this song need? Let's just have like a 2-minute build up bridge where he just goes nuts on the snare and the percussion. And then it explodes at the end with a great vocal. And then he comes in with the guitar solo it doesn't need to be that long. It doesn't, but it's that long and it's amazing the entire time. And it's so like technically sophisticated, I guess. Like he's really just like going off. And I don't know many people who can play that guitar solo, really. It's really difficult. But as a drummer, like the shuffle he plays is my go-to. Like when I hop on a drum kit and I want to warm up, that's exactly what I play, is the shuffle from Fool in the Rain. And I imagine it's the same thing with, you know, like you, Seamus, when you grab a guitar, you probably have a riff you play, or Inky or Dan. I mean, all of you play the guitar, right? So
I do that.
Something you always warm up
with.
Yeah.
Inky, I do that Fire on the Mountain, like, I forget if it's the bridge from Scarlet into Fire or Fire out of.
You just rip a hot 60-minute Fire, yeah.
just a warm up.
And I'll play like Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You.
Nice.
Acoustic, man.
Yeah.
So like everyone
I can confirm because Dan will do that in my basement.
I have done
He comes over and picks the guitar.
Everyone has that thing that they go to, and this halftime groove he's got going on in the song is my go-to. And the fills in this like shuffle triplet like tempo, essentially, they just sound so good. And they don't sound like a typical like 4/4 drum fill or beat. And it's inspired me a lot whenever I get on and play. Actually, we've played this song, Inky and Seamus, haven't we? We've played this song.
We attempted to.
I was gonna say.
Okay, we didn't do the solo.
Yeah, Seamus and I.
We didn't do a lot of things.
we did the main like hook and verse part though.
I butchered about 7 chords, and then if you want to call that us playing the song, then I'll take it. But
we were, you know what? It was fun. But regardless, amazing song. And John Bonham is like, a lot of his drums are kind of jazz influenced. You can tell that he has a lot of shuffle beats, normal time and halftime. Hot Dog, like it doesn't even sound like Led Zeppelin. Like when that song came on, like I don't think I've consciously listened to it before. When that song
listening
came
to
on,
a heroin binge.
Yeah,
like, Jimmy Page mixed that.
I'll definitely get to that part, but like it literally, I thought a different band was playing. I thought Spotify like accidentally started playing the radio or something like that.
I put shuffle or like random songs on.
Yeah. Carousel Alhambra. As I mentioned before, like the first couple of minutes I don't really like, but around 4 minutes in, it starts getting to like a more steady groove, more catchy, more enjoyable to listen to. All of My Love, I love the vocals in that song. The hi-hat, Bonham is just chugging away on the hi-hat and these eighth notes, and the crashes and the kick just line in so well with like the vocals and the changes in between the hook and the chorus and like bridges and stuff like that. It's just, they're just so in sync. That song to me is pretty classic.
I'm just not a big love song guy. I don't know. Like, the lyrics just throw me off. Like the song is pretty, but the lyrics just kind of, they don't do it for me.
Wow. I'm gonna
I can see that.
That's ridiculous. You don't believe in love, man? I'm gonna.
No.
That's crazy, dude.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
I'm-
that's what I said. Those are my
that's
exact
the
words.
Mallory.
Shit.
I'm gonna
Is
crawl.
that a love song?
Yeah,
All
all of my
you.
love is a love song.
What's the
yeah.
name of the song? Oh,
Like
yeah,
like
All
a
My Love.
classic, like
All of my
yeah, that
hatred.
that's Jesus Christ. I mean, I guess it's a little on the nose, isn't it? But no, because I don't want to jump the gun or cut you off or anything, but I think one of these two songs, isn't it about one of their kids dying? I'm Gonna Crawl, presumably.
No, I don't think it's I'm Gonna Crawl. I'm Gonna Crawl is about a woman leaving a guy.
I don't know why. I definitely am like confusing it with
It's
I
all
think
All of
there's
my
an-
love.
and-
All of my
There you
love
go.
is about plants. Plants on
Oh
the
wow, I feel bad now.
Wow. Pretty
I
bad
guess I'm an
guy.
asshole. And I like it.
I love it now.
Fine.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking of. So that's what when I said it, like, a love song, I meant like
Yeah.
is it about like relationship with a woman? It's not. It's about his kid
His
dying.
son.
Right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. I knew one of these two songs was. I thought I'm Gonna Crawl was because I mean
Makes sense. Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
I guess they
Yeah.
would have called it I'm Not Gonna Crawl. But
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, All My Love's great. I'm Gonna Crawl, also love that song. I think I like Led Zeppelin's slower songs because I like the way this is kind of contrary to like Fool in the Rain because it's like that's a special song, but I like their slower songs because when John Bonham plays slowly, there's just like this kind of like this intensity to the drums. They just like drive, and he's just chugging away on the hi-hat. It just sounds so like I don't know. It just carries the whole song, I guess. But I love that song. I think the guitar in that song is great. He's kind of playing almost like a reggae style, like just these quick little chords that he mutes with his hand. It's a super interesting album. There's a lot of different stuff on it, like we mentioned before. I don't think it like coalesces into like a super great project, but there are good songs on this album. I just don't know if I would have put them together. And as Dan brought up before, like they essentially made this album with two people because Page and Bonham were off in nowhere land getting high and drunk. And
Bonham always brings a good performance, but
yeah, he
his
yeah,
influence
but
is lessened.
Because so like they played well on this album, but they weren't all involved in the writing, and you could tell because not all the songs are as interesting. I feel like you can kind of pick the songs where like, oh, they all put into this, like fully invested in this song, right?
the edges aren't as smoothed out on this album.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. But that's all I got. I think it's a pretty good album. Definitely not my favorite Led Zeppelin album, but it's got some of my favorite songs on it.
Yeah, same.
Dan.
Yeah.
Dan, I hope we left something for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say this is probably my least favorite Led Zeppelin album. Like, I'm the biggest fan. Yeah, I'm the biggest fan of like John Paul Jones and John Bonham really hold Led Zeppelin together. And I think for this album, I would say it's like Jimmy Page's worst performance. Like I really like In the Evening as a starter song. It sounds like classic Led Zeppelin. And like, even though like I love classic Led Zeppelin, my favorite album is Houses of the Holy. And I couldn't help but like compare this album to that. As like Jack said, they start off pretty strong with a classic song, but they mostly step into new territory and get a little bit more experimental with their style. And I just think Houses of the Holy just hits on so many more points over this album, you know. But In the Evening brings it back to early Led Zeppelin 1, 2, 3, and 4 kind of vibe. John Bonham nails the sound. I think it's Jimmy Page's best guitar solo on the album. Robert Plant, he's kind of in his element stylistically. He's mixed well in this one, luckily. You kind of hear him. But Southbound Suarez, I definitely don't like the song. I think it's extremely repetitive. I think the synth part just grates after like 45 seconds because it goes on the whole time. I don't like Robert Plant's sha-na-na-na part. I think he's kind of phoned in on this. It seems like mixed really poorly. Yeah, I just don't really like that song. Fool in the Rain is definitely the savior of this album in my mind. Everything everyone said about this song is absolutely correct. And then followed up by Hot Dog. Definitely the most phoned in performance.
That is such a bummer, man.
Yeah.
It's such a bummer.
They should have just not put it on there.
Yeah, it's just so out of place in like their whole catalog, let alone the album, their whole catalog. Like, how did this make it through the production room?
Yeah, and like during this recording, like there were songs that didn't make this, and they were released on like Coda or I guess it was Coda. Like Darlene is a really good song, and like I can't believe that like Hot Dog made it to this and Darlene didn't. Not to say that Darlene necessarily like fits the album better, but the fact that Hot Dog made it out of all of that stuff is just surprising.
Yeah. That's a good point too, because like Hey What Can I Do it's a great song. I need to listen to Coda cover to cover, but that is maybe the most popular song off that album. Now, again, in terms of fitting, I think it would fit kind of weird in this, but that's the most, to me, like, that's more of a typical Led Zeppelin song. Hey, what can I do? That sounds like something off of Led Zeppelin 1 through 4 in that era.
I think it was written.
Whereas I don't think. What was that?
I think it was written with the three album that time, because it's the 45 of it. I think it's the back of Immigrant Song. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Whereas I don't think, like, contrary to what Nigel was saying too, I think it was Nigel saying that In the Evening sounds like a classic Led Zeppelin. I mean, it does sound like something that they had produced, but again, I don't think it's got the same like 1 through 4, or even like House of the Holy, Physical Graffiti type of sound. I feel like a lot of this album kind of exists on its own a little bit, which
it still developed from that, but the influence, it makes you think of that. I would say, it's not necessarily just like they did it again, but they can still hang,
Dan, what else you got? Anything?
Yeah, I'll go through. Like, Carousel Alhambra is also a song that I'm like not the biggest fan of. Like, I kind of disagree with what Nigel said about the song, how he doesn't like the first 4 minutes and likes the back half. I get like really tired of the song after 4 minutes. That's when I would like pick up my phone and look, and I'm like, there's 6 minutes left. Yeah.
I mean, I had the same reaction, and then I skipped to 4 minutes in, and then I was like, "Oh, this is much better."
now it's fine.
Like, it's a new song. Like there's like 3-minute songs in there.
Oh, sounds like Chicago.
I know.
You didn't like that?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like it justifies being longer because
I wasn't clear.
Sucks. That's the thing. Like, if the beginning didn't suck, if it was just all right the whole way through, it would almost be worse, because like in the beginning of the song, I'm like, wow, I need to skip this. So I skip ahead, and I'm like, wow, this is so much better than the beginning of the song. It's all about relative. It's all relative.
Yeah. It's an interesting psychology.
No.
Yeah.
But like,
this is a psychological masterpiece.
Yes.
Yeah, like Robert Plant, like, I don't know, his performance on Carousel Alhambra is kind of weird. He seems mixed poorly again. He just kind of yells. I don't know. Lyrically, like, I don't know. He doesn't make any sense. John Paul Jones' bass work is always sick on the song. Brings out some like slap bass. But I don't know. The synths get out of place like later in the song. I don't know. I'm just not the biggest fan of all the synths on this record. Like, I know they're definitely stepping into new territory. But like this album came out in like middle of 1979. Like, you had a lot of new wave bands coming in. Like, I don't know how much you guys know about like Talking Heads and Devo, but like there is a lot of better, more interesting synth work that isn't so like rooted in John Paul Jones like classical piano work.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of falls flat in my eyes compared to like what was going on around it.
Yeah, it's definitely not the best synth stuff, but
yeah. I mean, all the Led Zeppelin albums are good albums. This is just probably my least favorite one. Because All My Love is a song that like it comes on, I'll enjoy it, but I'm not saving this or gonna like listen to it later. I don't know. I don't think I would go back to this one.
So you like Presence more than this?
Yeah, I think what if we're talking about like Led
Damn.
Zeppelin 10.5 minute songs, Achilles' Last Stand is better.
Fair take.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Yeah. And then I think I'm Gonna Crawl is like such a bad ending to an album.
Really?
Because I compare it to like, as I said earlier, like Houses of the Holy, and that has like such slow, rumbly songs like the Ocean, the Rain song, which is just way better. And it kind of tries to be like a soft rock ballad with like how Robert Plant's playing and singing it, and they just done so much better. Like Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You as like a ballad song. It's just so much well done, you know. I think the song kind of seems uninspired.
Now that you bring
Can
it up,
I just
I kind of agree.
for what? I'm Gonna Crawl, Inky?
Yeah. I mean, I see what you're saying now. I did think
Not
it's
the strongest closer. I mean, I don't disagree. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, like,
Whereas you
they're
talk-
always rooted in blues, but like I don't know, this is a weird blues waltz song to throw in.
Mhm.
And then you talk about House of the Holy and the Ocean's the closer on that. That's a
Yeah.
sick closer.
Sick closer.
You know what I mean? And then
I mean,
it does that little
yeah.
change up at the end of it, and it's again just kind of like an archetypal closer. So can I just say that I was afraid that this is how the 1984 episode was going to go? Because I mean, obviously, I don't hold this album as high of the standard as 1984, but
Seamus, I wanted to ask you because I was thinking about this when I brought it up. Like around when this album came out, Van Halen had already released Van Halen 1 and 2, and I don't know. I'm just curious to see how you would put those albums up against this, because I think like so many better rock bands were coming out at the time. You had Dire Straits.
Boston had released their debut by then.
Exactly. The Police, man.
At least, at least
Regarded to
their
Black
first
came out like shortly after it. The Clash, London Calling came out. I just can't put this album up against this.
I would probably pick all of those albums over this one. So like I said, like I've always had like an affinity for this. And when I listened to it again today, and yesterday, I was kind of like expecting a little more. It sounds like Jack, you may have been in the same boat. But again, I love the first three songs, and they count so much for me. And I like Carousel Lambert a lot too. But I think everything you're saying makes sense. And like I said, they've definitely probably got some better albums. I still think it's interesting that we talked about this one though, because there's a lot to talk about in it. It's not, it's different than the 1984 podcast episode where we just sung its praises the whole time, which I was a huge fan of. But like Jack said, a little bit more divisive.
Yeah, that was fun.
The craft started to fade a little bit on this. I feel like,
I'm looking at albums that came out in '79. London Calling, In Through the Outdoor, Rest Never Sleeps, Neil Young, Damn the Torpedoes, Tom Petty, The Wall, Van Halen 2, Breakfast in America, which is one of my favorite albums
dude, I love that album. Supertramp's sick.
Yeah, Candy-O, amazing. Communique, Dire Straits, Shake Your Booty, Frank Zappa. What an album!
Yeah, Frank Zappa was big. He was prolific. Man. Yeah, I think there's just much better stuff going on. It's hard to put this album up as like in Led Zeppelin's discography and like against everything else.
Yeah, if you compare against its peers at the time, that we've been comparing it to other albums. I think other Zeppelin albums. I think it's interesting to compare it to its peers, and I think it is up there in the top albums of that year of '79. But I definitely don't think it's the best. But it's up there, but it's not the best.
I Would Have Hell came out in '79 too.
And I Would Have Hell, yeah. So I skipped right over. Sorry, and Regada de Blanc.
Yeah. 78 was a loaded year too. So yeah, no, I would say there was probably some better stuff up there. I think, like Nigel was saying, like the craft. I mean, the way a band dies is unfortunately with a lot of that.
With John Bonham.
Yeah. When he actually died,
he was really it. He was the X factor, I would say.
Yeah.
It's something my dad would always say when I was growing up. Like he played a lot of Led Zeppelin. He was like, after John Bonham passed, they didn't have it. And it's like, yeah, they kind of did. Heard them at Live
Well-
Aid in 1985. Have you ever heard of that
Wow.
performance?
That's awesome. Was it bad?
It was very bad. They had Phil Collins like play drums.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and Phil Collins had no clue what was going on, and they blamed it on him when they sounded bad. And he was like, "What the heck, guys? I don't know, I'm
What?
trying
Really?
here." Yeah,
So
check
that's
out
what I
that
was gonna
performance
s-
is interesting. If you don't want to like feel bad because it's not a good performance, don't check it out. But it's kind of funny.
Yeah, if you don't want to lose admiration for one of your favorite
Yeah.
bands, then maybe don't check it out. But you know, I talked about how it's like these four guys who made all their music, which is fucking insane how many bangers they came out with in such a short time, similar to the Beatles. But when one of them goes, like John Bonham, you just can't fucking replace that. You know what I mean? It's just like, I mean, obviously, Neil Peart was like 65 when he died, and they had done their thing already. But yeah, I mean, once he dies, there's no shot that Rush, like Alex Lifeson and Geddy Lee are getting back out there because there's literally no one that you can replace
No.
Neil
Too
Peart
iconic.
with, and I don't think there's a good fit for a John Bonham type either. You know?
Yeah.
I think Zeppelin
Maybe
is
Keith
playing.
Moon, but he was probably already dead.
That's probably the closest approximation, like the classic rock band. And I mean, they were still kind of in their prime, right? It was like 78-ish when he died before Bonham,
Yeah, I think so.
Who?
just Keith Moon,
Keith Moon.
and there's no
Mm.
replacing him.
Yeah, good shout.
They kind of just fell apart.
Yeah,
Same
dude.
kind of
this-
just like manic energy, like but so like contained and powerful. Keith Moon, John Bonham.
there's this music festival in September in Indiana, in Indianapolis. The headliners are Trey Anastasio, Boo, but then Joe Russo's Almost Dead, and then Humphreys McGee which is awesome. Love Humphreys, but they're playing with Led Zeppelin and Jason Bonham.
Oh yeah,
Right,
I heard
yeah.
Really?
about
Yeah.
they were doing some touring with Jason Bonham.
That's
yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah. And like Jason Bonham, like Zeppelin plus Humphreys is something I had never even like thought of, but that is going to be one insane show. And I think I'll probably go because Indianapolis isn't far from Chicago.
When is it?
September 9th and 10th. Yeah, and Green Sky Bluegrass, and he's awesome. They're really good live. They jam hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be exciting to see, I think.
They've played with
I would do it. Go ahead.
They've played with the Black Crows before. I don't know if any of you guys are super into them. Zeppelin
I
has.
know the Black Crows. Black
Yeah.
Crows have some cool songs. They jam.
Maybe just
Yeah, they do.
Jack, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was going to say I would do an Humphreys album, Humphreys McGee. They're a little. I don't know if you guys have really listened to it that much. They're a Chicago band.
Nice.
Whoa,
And-
whoa. Chicago?
My coworker, her husband is their manager, and she's like gotten us all these like backstage, or not backstage, but like really good tickets to their shows. And I saw their lead singer do like this tiny bar show down the street from us with like 30 people there, and it was the
Awesome.
coolest show I've ever been to. Got to talk to him
Nice.
for a while and stuff. So Humphreys is a good band. You guys should check them out if you haven't really listened to them. Humphreys McGee. They have some really good albums.
Don't really know him. I'll have to.
I'll send one after this. Yeah, sorry to derail. I know we're at like an hour and a half at this point.
And 12%. So gotta
Uh,
I'm tied here.
See,
where's it gonna go?
Yeah,
Dude,
I'm
Mickey.
curious. So this is
compared to all these, like I don't know the bottom.
What?
Oh, wait.
Wow.
Bottom.
It's already at the bottom.
Bottom. Again, I thought I was gonna be one of the most bearish, but like Seamus said, it's still pizza. Full of just
Yeah.
drives
Yeah,
the
pizza's
Yeah,
still
me
good
too.
food.
It's a like it just doesn't stack up as Led Zeppelin album.
You think
or,
it's-
like as an album?
Wow. Well, okay. Well, if it's going to the
I'm gonna
bottom,
vote
Chicago's
to
getting off the
overrule Dan
list.
on that one.
Yeah, Dan,
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I would put it like probably behind Rubber Soul and move American Beauty down to B. Because
I
I
would
would
put
put
it
it-
as a B.
I would put it right next to London Calling and B.
Yeah.
oh my, the most like
This
Watch it.
is
This is-
wild. I did not expect this to be the most divisive album. I thought Chicago was going to be pretty tough to top.
I mean,
No,
Chicago
but,
was not divisive. It was just garbage. This is
Dude, I love that album.
Yeah, same.
You just said all the songs were long, and all these songs were long.
It's just trash. I love that.
It wasn't divisive. Everybody hated it. I didn't say that.
I mean,
Ah,
we
shit.
might end up with like A, B, C, and D's here. So Dan's saying like
Crazy.
D to F. Inky, you said A,
Wait.
9. Jack,
I'm
you
saying
said
bottom
B.
of C.
Okay. Is that what you're saying, Dan? It's a D to an F.
No, I'm saying it's bottom of C.
Bottom C. Got
I
it.
thought you were saying that you should just keep it right where it is.
Off this is so bad it's
No,
off
no.
the scale.
It's a good album, man. It's a good album, but it's got some good songs.
Okay.
But
Okay. Sorry. Shams, yeah, keep
Have
going.
you guys ever heard of the worst band ever? They go by Led
Our
Zeppelin.
podcast would be canceled if that's the conclusion that we came
Yeah.
to. I'm gonna say that for me, it's got to be like A to B. So it's that same thing, right? It's like bad pizza is still good food within reason.
Great for
But
you.
like, so like, it's not Ness.
No.
Yeah, I agree there.
If, dude, again, like Zeppelin have hardly put out a bad song, besides maybe Hot Dog. Although Hot Dog reminds me kind of like the acapella, the Van Halen acapella thing on Diver Down, which Dan, I think you've heard at my house before. So it's interesting, it's different, it's weird. I can kind of get behind it just for like the sake of experimentation. I'm gonna throw it on really. I'm thinking A to B though, because I mean I definitely like Chicago. I like it more in the band. I mean, I definitely think I like it more than Hall and Oates, just for the heavies, just for the heavy songs on it, just for the first three. I really still feel like this is a Zeppelin album. It deserves A to B here, but we can debate it.
Anyone else have a strong opinion?
You're Jack. Probably averaging out.
I'm trying to compare this to like what Dan said about like the peers of the time. Like London Calling came out the same year, and I like London Calling a lot. Like it's such a I feel like it's tied for me with London Calling, just because like I've listened to this album forever. Like I love this album. I love Zeppelin so much, and I love Fool in the Rain. Like honestly, the fact that Fool in the Rain is on there, and it's one of my favorite songs of all time with any artist. It's really hard for me to put this. I know we're trying to judge this as an album.
As an album, it's the thing, you know.
But like, you know, it is part of the album, and it just like it's so good. And I mean, for me, I think it goes. Plus, it's short. I love Zeppelin albums because most of them are short, and you can just like listen to them. Like I don't know, they're just so listenable and so approachable, and I love that about it. Like sometimes it's hard to sit down and say like entertaining or something. You have people over to listen to a record, and like London Calling's a long album, and like it's hard to sometimes like sit down and listen to a whole album. And this is a short album you can put on for 42 minutes, and like it's pretty strong all the way through, save for Hot Dog. And I think the fact that it's like it for every minute in there and all 42 minutes, I'd say like 36 whatever minus Hot Dog is, like almost all of it is like really really good. Like it's the majority of the album I think is very good. So I'm gonna put it at B in front of London Calling.
Okay. I gotta say I agree with a lot of what you said, Jack. I think like thematically and how well the songs sit together is pretty poor. But
yeah,
there's like 4 songs
Fair.
for me on this album that I think are really good. That's In the Evening, Fool in the Rain, All of My Love, and what is it, Crawling or something? I think those 4 songs. Yeah, I'm gonna crawl. Like those 4 songs to me are really good. Fool in the Rain's one of the best ever. But I don't think they fit super well together. I don't think that the other, 3 songs, Suarez and Hot Dog and Carousel, those are definitely much weaker, and none of them sound anything like each other or like anything else on the album. So I'm also gonna say it's either our highest B, so above London Calling, or the lowest A. That's what I would say.
I'm fine with that. I'm still waiting for American Beauty to get knocked down to B. I mean,
Yeah.
I like
It's
the
starting to
album a
make
lot.
less and less sense.
Yeah, and that's, I guess that's expected.
Great album, but like I said, when I put it that high, I think I was taking the live stuff into account a little too much. Now, I would put, if we're gonna do B for Into the After, I'd put it as the highest B, and I think that all kind of makes sense.
I can
All
work
right.
with the highest B.
Dan, how do you feel about
Well, I
that?
think I'm just overruled here, right?
Fortunately, I think so.
The best place
Kinda.
I would put it is the bottom of B. Like, it is not better than London Calling, Abandoned Lynchnet. Maybe it's better than Chicago Transit Authority.
How do I
Inky,
feel about it being the lowest B?
Inky, you control the mouse.
Inky's the decider.
Yeah, and the participants in the Zoom meeting.
Is that a threat?
I have the
Why
power.
am I the one defending this album, Seamus? I think Dan and I kind of live on the opposite ends of the spectrum here for this album, and you three, the other three, seem to average out more in the middle. So
Did you end up being the most bullish on this album?
Yeah,
He said A, right?
Even though he started
Yeah, I
off saying,
said-
I'm the most bearish.
yeah, I said below Rubber Soul for me. Like it has to be below Rubber Soul, but it wouldn't feel right to not put it in A. Again, the Fool in the Rain just
It's an amazing
it
song,
drags
man.
the
Full in the
album.
Rain, it's a
It's an
banger.
amazing. It carries it.
I know that we're reviewing albums, but I feel like as it
Point two.
blends together for it to be an album counts, but I think it's subjective how much you count it for, because there's also a lot of music that is singles driven, but when you
Fool in
listen
the
to it
Rain
in
was
the
a
album,
single.
Yeah.
Like it did come out before the rest of the album.
yeah, and my point's just that like, but even when things are like singles driven, sometimes it's still part of an album that's got a ton of good songs on it. So like so I don't know. I don't think that necessarily means it's got to be low. It's just something to consider. That's kind of why it's the quality of those good songs is so, at least Full in the Rain. That's why I'm thinking like high B. I just feel like that's kind of like not too hot, not too cold. We've got a couple different opinions here, so it kind of puts us right in the middle.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the best consensus. That obviously doesn't reflect Dan's opinion, but Chicago Transit Authority being in C probably doesn't reflect Jack's opinion of that album.
That's
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's
It's an
opinions
average.
come in here,
Mad Villain. I mean, it's not
That's
like
an album.
an A in terms of what I listen to.
Yeah.
But I mean I respect the album, but it's not like it's in the top 40% of music I listen to, but it ended up there. So I kind of had to suck on that when we talked about that album. So it might be your turn to suck it, Dan.
No,
Sorry.
that's totally fine. I just like them. I give my opinion.
Everybody sucked it a little bit so far. So yeah.
Rubber Soul. I wasn't even there. I didn't get.
I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
my opinion got overly inflated. We missed out on Jack's haterade for that one.
So I think if one person's kind of not accurately represented, then we've still made
Yeah.
a pretty good consensus.
I was gonna do this just because I mean Dan, he had a great sense of the album. He knew what it was about. Gave a really good overview of it. So I'm gonna respect his definitely below London Calling. What do you guys think about that?
I'm okay with it.
American Beauty
I
just
think you're
shipped kind of a way down.
Yeah.
I think that's accurate though.
It
Yeah,
literally just went.
Fair.
It just dropped.
Slowly.
Yeah.
But we knew that was
Slowly
gonna
down
happen.
to D.
Grateful Dead
every podcast it moves one space down. This one it jumped a few, but it'll get there.
All right, everyone happy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very.
What's
That was a
what's
fun
next
one,
week?
man.
That was a good one.
Next
What
week
is next week?
Mount Rushmore.
No
Oh
Rushmore?
yeah.
Oh, I started.
You got mine down already. That's awesome.
John
Oh, no.
Lennon for I love
Okay,
that.
no, that was Nigel. I just
I
put
thought-
Okay.
the images.
I knew that was Nigel.
Yeah.
Let the record show I don't like John Lennon, even though it says I do.
Hey man, I'm just trying to
You're,
go with the
I'm gonna
tone.
have to investigate that claim next episode, but I think we're
John Lennon.
just about out of time on this one.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you guys next week.
All right, y'all.
Yeah,
All
thanks
right.
for listening.
See ya.
Yeah, take
Come on.
care, guys. Peace.
Take
Bye
care.
guys.
Ah.